welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to day 3, the final day of the great GTR road trip. For those of you who haven't seen the other 2 episodes, basically what happened was I live in Los Angeles and I flew all the way up to Seattle, Washington to buy an R35 GTR, and I'm now driving it home. So I'm bringing you all along with me. So far I did one leg where I went from Seattle to Lincoln City, Oregon, and that's my first episode. If you haven't seen that one, I will post a link in the description down below, as well as put a banner above my head. Yesterday, which was day 2, I went on my longest part, which was from Lincoln City to Sacramento, and I will also put a link to that in the description down below, as well as a banner above my head if you want to check those out first. But today I'm going from Sacramento back to Los Angeles. And I've done this drive quite a few times because I used to have family that lived in Oregon, and I can tell you that this is definitely the most boring part of the drive. So this might be a bit of a short video because there's really not a lot to see between Sacramento and Los Angeles, at least until you get to the Grapevine, which is probably the largest uphill grade I've ever seen. So you'll definitely want to stick around and see that. But yeah, I'll continue to bring you with me, and you know, if I notice things about the car today that the other 2 days, I'll talk about it, and you know, I'll still show you some of the terrain around this area. So hopefully you stick around to the end of the video and you enjoy the drive. A long bridge for no reason. It's just a tall bridge that goes for about 4 miles. There's no water underneath it, but it's here. Washington and Oregon I'm really missing at this point. In Oregon and Washington, they have these little blue signs that are before every exit, and it lets you know if there's gas, lodging, food on this upcoming exit, and you know what the companies are and which direction you're going to turn, which is very nice because if you're looking for gas, you're like, oh, okay, I know for sure if I get off on this exit, there's gas. Here in California, we don't have that, so you try to look ahead at the exits, and you're like, looks like there might be gas. If you get off the freeway, there's no gas. Or you're driving through, you're like, oh, there definitely can't be gas at that exit. You go by, and after you go past the exit, you see a gas station. Which is really annoying. I wish California would learn a little bit from Oregon, Washington, put up those blue signs, so it makes it a little easier for those of us who don't live in areas to find gas when we need it. But I'm sure I'll find some, and it's about time to fill up, and hopefully that one fill up will take me all the way to LA. Well, we'll find out. So as you can see, it's really difficult to see if there's any gas stations coming up or anything like that because you have all these sound walls, so you never know if you're going to get off the freeway and find a gas station or get off the freeway and just find houses. As an addendum to what I was talking about with gas, one of the cool things about this car, which is some technology I'm not used to, is it actually gives you your range to empty. I'm used to just looking at a gas gauge and it's looking low and it's time to fill up. The cool thing is this car actually shows you I've got 74 miles till empty, even though the gas gauge looks kind of low. Now I don't necessarily want to run it down really low, that's just a personal preference, but at least I know it's not like I'm going to run out of gas in the next like 10 miles if I can't find one. So that's kind of cool. So yep, I tried to get off the freeway because it looked like there might be some gas, and it's all just homes. So got to get back on the freeway.
Merge onto I-5 South.
Success! I finally found gasoline. So yay! I was getting a little bit down to the wire there. It was making me a little nervous. That's right. I'm not in Oregon anymore. I actually have to get out of my car and pump my own gas. So yeah, at least this is getting taken care of. I can get back on the road. Alright, well, I got a full tank of gas now. I picked myself up something to drink, ready to hit the road. it's getting on close to lunchtime. I'm not sure if I'm hungry yet, so I might stop a little bit later down the road, or hopefully I'll make it all the way to Los Angeles. But let's get on the road and let's put some miles on this thing. Alright, I want to talk about the seats again in this car. If you've seen the other two videos I did for my other 2 days, you know I mentioned the seats in those videos also, but I definitely feel that they're worth mentioning. Because let's be honest, when you're doing a 4.5-hour drive, followed by a 9-hour drive, followed by a 6-hour drive, you spend a lot of time in the seats. And these seats are amazing. This is of course the Black Edition with Recaro seats, so I can't speak for the Premium Edition seats, but they look like they're kind of similar, maybe less bolstered. But I feel fine in these seats. Like, I'm not getting any back pain, not getting any side pain. I'm actually fairly comfortable, which is kind of impressive. I mean, it's really the true definition of a grand tour if you can sit in the car for this many hours and still be comfortable. The bolsters on them are there, I'm aware of them, and I imagine anybody who probably is wider than me might kind of start to have problems with the chairs. I can definitely feel it holding my lower torso pretty well, and I'm definitely aware of the thigh bolsters touching my thighs, but not in a discomfortable way as I am right now. Like, they're definitely there. I can feel that they're holding me in place. But like I said, imagine if you're wider than me, they might be hitting you kind of in uncomfortable areas and pressing you. This is me starting to wake up and get energized. I looked at my GPS. I'm only 6 miles away from the end of the boring part of the drive. As you can see, it's a long straight road, nothing to look at, no corners, very boring, very mind-numbing. We are coming up now on the grapevine, and I will show you that when I get there. It is probably the steepest, longest hill I've ever seen for a paved road. And it's nuts because when you go up it, inevitably there's always, you know, a few cars broken down, a few cars overheated. The trucks obviously have a huge issue. This car I'm pretty confident will make it, but just to be safe, I did set up my gauges. So I've got my engine coolant temp, I have my oil pressure and my oil temp, and I also have the transmission oil pressure and the transmission oil temp. So I will be keeping an eye on those gauges. Like I said, I'm pretty confident this car will make it up there no problem. So, but yeah, I'm not far from home. That's a little exciting. Although I've loved this road trip, it's definitely been a marathon. I'm sure the GoPro's not properly doing justice just how tall these mountains are. So we're starting the ascent now. I'm sure the angle of the camera isn't really showing the incline because you're seeing it over my dash and I'm leaning back. If I was going to make the camera level, that's about how steep we're going right now. See, we're already having cars that are having issues. My temperatures are still holding right where they were on the flats. Another vehicle down. Oh, another one down. Oh, another car down. Temperatures are still holding strong. Oh, there's a few more that are waiting for their cars to cool down. side. Audi TT knocked out. GTR still handling like a champ. Temperatures still good. In fact, actually my engine coolant's gone down about 6 degrees for some reason, so that's kind of funny. Oh, there's another 3 cars. Not quite there. It's too bad, they're almost to the top. We're getting close. That is pretty much the top of the grapevine. There's one more little up section and we're at the top. Oh look, there's looks like 3 more cars that haven't quite made it. But people are speeding up, so we're past the really, really steep part. There's the last little jaunts up. Once we reach the top of that little crest there, we've made it to the top of the grapevine. Like I said, it's very long and it's very steep. Oh, another guy almost there. Another one almost there. There we go. GTR made it to the top like a champ. There was a few moments where the coolant started to go up. It only went from like 195 to 203. The transmission temp and the oil temp, man, those didn't fluctuate at all. So really solid car with the cooling, but of course it's meant for track use anyways. Okay, so on that last clip, my battery actually died. Ironically enough, in the perfect spot for what I said. However, I was incorrect. That was actually not the top of the grapevine. It was only about maybe half the way. The rest of the half of the way though isn't nearly as steep. So it's not as big of a deal, but I am still going up. So within maybe mile, maybe 2, you go from sea level to 5,000 feet. I am now in what I consider my home area. I know this area very well. I've driven all over this area from back when I worked in Hollywood. I'm not far from home, maybe an hour, give or take. So yeah, it's kind of nice. I know where I'm at. I know everything I need to know. And I just filled up my tank also after the battery died, so I am good to go all the way home. I might show you guys a few more things, like we go past Pyramid Lake and some other nice spots. Six Flags will be on the way. And yeah, we are almost home. Close to home, so I'm going to go ahead and sign out for the drive. Stick around though, I'm going to do a wrap up when I get home to give you all the numbers and stats and my final thoughts. Okay, I've been home a few days now and figured it'd be a great time to do an overall wrap up of that huge road trip, as well as some general observations I have of the car. This isn't going to be a complete walk around of the car because I'd like to do a separate video on that where I'll take you around the entire car, all the things I've noticed that were great about the car and some of the things I don't particularly like and will probably change later. In this case, I just did the road trip, which came out to a whopping 1,243 mile road trip. I have definitely tested the GT aspect of the GTR, and this is a true grand tour. I did the 4.5 hours the first day, 9 hours the second day, and 6 hours the third day. I had absolutely no issues the entire time. I was perfectly comfortable in these seats, despite the fact that they're the Recaro seats, which means that they have the higher bolsters. Granted, I'm 5'10" and about 185 pounds, and I fit comfortably in them, but I can easily see where anybody who's a little bit wider than me might have issues, because those bolsters aren't going to be kind of keeping you in place like they did me. They're going to be pushing up against your legs and lower back, and I can see where that'd be an issue. The AC system on this was amazing. You remember in video 2 where I was shocked at the outside temperature. I was running the AC on low fan, set at about 78 degrees, and when I clicked the button over, I was shocked to see that it was over 101 degrees outside of the car. I would have never known. So if you are picking up this car and you are going to be doing some long drives with it, I believe it's going to be a perfectly fine car. Getting onto that, also the gas mileage. My average MPG over the entire trip was about 24.5 miles per gallon. I've got to admit, I was really shocked by that. I've been hearing an average of about 18 miles per gallon to those guys who are really putting their foot into it, getting about 16 or less miles per gallon. Granted, the majority of the driving I was doing on the freeway, which means you definitely get better gas mileage at that point, but even still, it was rather impressive to see the MPG that high. In the future, I'm not going to be terribly shocked to see it get as low as 18. We'll see what happens over time. Over the course of the drive, this car was phenomenal, gave me no issues whatsoever, and I was really amazed, despite the fact that it now has 95,000 miles on it, there's no rattles, there's no shakes, there's no squeaks. It just feels like an amazingly solid car, so some good engineering behind it. I did notice that the suspension is a little on the stiff side, but not in the way that I'm used to. I am used to coilovers on my street cars, which give you that rough feeling where you feel every bump in the road. This suspension is stiff, but in a completely different way. So when I'm cruising down the freeway, it feels perfectly smooth and solid. However, when you hit like some seriously rough road or some very aggressive speed bumps, that's when the suspension starts to feel really rock hard and stiff. That's not exactly enjoyable. But overall, I was really impressed, having heard the horror stories before from previous reviewers who constantly complain that the suspension is just way too stiff for their taste. It isn't an uncomfortable ride, and maybe it's because the seats are so comfortable or whatever they're doing. I was running it in comfort mode, which there really isn't a huge difference between normal and comfort mode. I haven't been able to test any of the R settings yet, and I am itching to do that, given the fact I was driving the car back with no plates. If you've seen the previous videos, you know why. Basically, Washington, the plates stay with the owner. Oregon and California, the plates stay with the car. So I didn't want to bring any unknown attention to myself. So that will be coming up in the future, so make sure you look forward to those videos, as well as my walk around I'll do a little bit later. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button to let me know. If you want to see more GTR content in the future, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you'd like, you can now follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I will leave links to those in the description down below. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all out on the road.